Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. In order that we have a chance to get somewhere in that search for truth, diving in ourselves, it needs persistence, perseverance. We cannot just, as another hobby, okay, let's go for spirituality and get somewhere, just by the way. It is a commitment. If we decide that we want to go for truth, it is very, very, very rarely happening that things are just opening up quickly, clearly. For most of us, it means we have to start to control our thoughts a bit, then learn to relax that, learn to become aware what's going on all the time in our minds. And then with persistence, somehow learn to redirect the attention from all those thoughts, from all that mental activity, and somehow bring it back to the essence. It needs persistence. To quote the great teacher Nisargadatta Maharaj, who basically says to everybody, you are already dead. But then he says also things like the successful few are those who persevere. Persevere in what? If you are already dead, then who is there to perceive in with what? That would be a very common question amongst Neo-Advaita people. But who is there to persevere with what? You are that. That being that has identified with the personality and consequently has a lot of difficulties to face, often suffers. That being who wants to be liberated from that needs to go about it with persistence. We don't have to persist in being tense and desperately trying to get somewhere. We just have to find a way that we are catching the attention and then bring it back home and then persist with that. I know also different teachers, especially one teacher who this is very strong. Don't pick up any methods. There is no method. And of course, there is certainly absolutely no method to become what we already are. The very idea is totally absurd. But there is also absolutely nothing wrong picking up a method that makes it easier for us to become aware what's going on. And with that method, take the help of that method to learn to redirect the attention from those habitual grooves where the thoughts are going on and on and on and repeating themselves endlessly. that we find a way. And the method is absolutely nothing wrong. If we pick up a method that helps us, then we find with that method a way to withdraw the attention from that mental level, from that mental activity, and then simply come home. Many people who start practicing have a period where it's quick, very quickly seems, right, that's good, it's doing something. But then often it happens that after some time the feeling is, okay, did a little something, but now nothing is happening. And the tendency is there to give it up. Look again for another way. Look again for another kick. Look again for another method or another something that can miraculously go that job, to learn to be honest, to learn to look at oneself, to learn to see what is going on, and then not to do that anymore. We need persistence. We need a profound decision. Yes, I want to go for truth. I want to go for the real. And how can we get such a persistence? By simply becoming more clear in our mind, by simply reminding ourselves to look what is really going on. If I let it go, if I go in other directions, try to find fulfillment in other ways, then finding it in our own self. If we watch that with clarity, then we become more and more aware. If I really want to find peace, if I really want to get out of suffering, there is only one direction. And if we see that, then we are also having the motivation to continue. And if we look again and see that again, then we have that motivation to persist, no matter what. We can learn to go about it in a joyous way, not in a painful way, thinking, it's a terrible, terrible thing to do, but playfully, joyously go about it, but at the same time persist. There may be a few rare exceptions. There is the type of line of teaching that people go and then they feel, I had that great enlightenment. If they would honestly look at themselves, they would see that the same story goes on. The shortcut is bringing the attention back home, here, now. Learn to relax in that, and not some kind of magic that someone can do for us. No, any magical teaching that is just immediately transporting you through all that stuff that we have accumulated. Some people are already very pure. They don't need much effort, they don't need long time, and all the debris that they have been accumulating starts to drop off very quickly, very smoothly. Many of us are not so fortunate. Most of us carry so much mental stuff with us that we don't even know. And by becoming quieter, by becoming more introverted, by becoming more honest when we watch it, we discover, oh, there is a lot of stuff that has been there all the time. I was not even aware it has influenced my actions, my reactions, the way I dealt with situations, the way I dealt with people. It has influenced me all the time and strengthened that feeling that's me and the others and that separation. There is no other way but to really persistently look at that again and again and again. The very fact that we observe what's going on starts already to remove a good part of it. Because something in us becomes a bit embarrassed seeing what's going on, having had quite good ideas about oneself, and then having an honest look what's going on and see what is really there, what is happening, is often quite embarrassing. How is it possible that I can think this kind of thoughts? How is it possible that I can hold on to this kind of destructive feelings? It's more or less there in everyone. And the antidote is to go about it persistently, one way or another. How we are doing it doesn't matter at all. You can do it more as a yogi, more as a jnani, more as a devotee, more in any other way one can find out, or what one can be taught, or one comes up by oneself. But once decided that we are going on that path, what is needed most is that basic decision that I want to get to the truth, to the essence. Nisargadatta, he met his guru a few times over 1 year, and then his guru left his body, and he had full faith in his guru, who had given him the highest Advaitic teachings, after first making him do mantra, which he in a short time very successfully did, in the sense that he started to have visions of gods and goddesses and talk to them. And then his guru just told him to stay with that sense of I am. And he was so decided. He believed what his guru said when he told him, you are not what you think you are. You are timeless, spaceless. You are birthless, deathless. You are so much more than what you can imagine right now. He believed him fully, but at the same time, that decision was there. I want to verify that by my own direct experience. Many people come to teachers and the teachers tell them, essentially you are already dead, and they are quite satisfied and go back and live their life like before. Okay, good. If that is so, if they need to go through that experience in such a way, if they are not ready to really start to wake up from that dream, then that is fine. And that teaching may help them in many situations to take it a bit more relaxed, a bit easier. But the teaching basically is meant to wake up that urge to really get out of that small bubble that we have created, that small bubble, that me personality, by being told by somebody of whom we think they are qualified to do so, that may incite that inspiration. Okay, I believe it's true, but I want to experience that for myself. I want to be free of all those delusions that I have been carrying along, and then simply go about it with persistence. In the beginning, out of old habit, we may have a lot of gaps in between, that the mind goes off, that we pass lots of time and we don't have a conscious thought really, but are again totally in the stream of focusing on whatever is happening, being totally immersed in that, being totally immersed in that feeling that I am this person, that this is happening and I have to fight for my rights and this and that. Instead of bringing the attention back to that which makes the experience possible. But if that intent is there, I want to become more aware. And if we renew that intent day after day, I want to become more aware, then gradually these big gaps, they are reducing. The time is reducing, that we have gaps where we simply completely identify again with the role we play, with the story, hanging on to the past, hanging on to expectations for the future. If we daily renew that intent, I want to go to the bottom of that story. I want to come to that ground that is there first, that makes the whole appearance possible, that makes the whole experience possible. And when that intent is there, then choose one way that comes most naturally. One way that helps us to catch the attention, see how it is sticking again to the story, how it is sticking again to all the thoughts that are going through the mind. And then simply learn to redirect it and come back to that sense of presence. This is the job. And as we have spent time to cover up that purity of existence, for most of us it may take time to remove those covers again. And the magic method is not some miracle somebody is doing for you or for me or for anyone, but the magic method is to persist, not to give it up, not to think after some time, oh, it seemed for some time that something is changing and everything goes on in the same way, and then throw it away and doesn't work. The methods are there as a help. There's nothing wrong with methods for that. Not a method to become what you are already. The method to become more aware of how we are covering up of what we are. And then persistently go about it. As the time passes, we may include other aspects. It's not that we have to choose a path and that is already there as a blueprint and then stick to it forever, ever, and refuse everything else. We can be open, and if something comes our way that is resonating, then we can learn to integrate it in what we are already doing. And so everyone is more and more creating their own path. They're creating their own yoga, creating their own way how to deal with that stubborn fact that the attention always wants to slip away from the essence and learn to bring it home again. Without that persistence, it's very difficult to get somewhere. But we can be persistent in a joyous, in a playful way, without hurting ourselves and desperately trying to be in control of the story. We can control that. Basically we have the attitude that we always want to catch the attention, always want to bring it back to the source, to the essence. But we cannot control how much we are at any moment successful with it. Sometimes it's coming smoothly and sometimes it seems very difficult, but there again, what is needed is persistence. Repeating Nisargadatta's quote, the successful few are those who persevere. There's no way around that. And hope that we can find a guru and he's doing the job for us. Guru will support, the guru will direct, the guru will inspire, the guru will help. And it's still each one's own job to go on with it day after day. And then on the way, all kinds of things may happen. There may be an opening, a new aspect that becomes aware that we haven't been aware that it is there. And there we just continue with the same persistence. Okay, there's another aspect I was not aware of, but don't stop there and think, that's it. That's where we had to reach. But there's still way, way more beyond it. There's still infinity beyond wherever we are. If that sincerity is there, then we get also support, subtle support from positive energies that are very happy if somebody does that, and also support that whenever it's necessary, somehow we are getting the necessary guidance through somebody, or through a book, or through something, maybe a movie. That gives us the pointer again where it's going, where the direction goes. If that sincerity is there, if that basic intent is there, if we go about it with perseverance, then this is bound to work. It may take a long time, but nothing that we did on the way is lost. Maybe somebody practices, sheds more and more of the burden and then suddenly dies. Then some people will say, but he's persevered, and what did it bring him? Didn't get anywhere. It's not true. Nothing of that is lost. Not a moment of it is lost. It accumulates something very precious that helps wherever that consciousness continues. That work that had been done, the fruit of that work is there and makes it easier, makes the road clearer, makes the road smoother. So it's not an argument that sometimes people say as an excuse, well, anyhow, it's clear in my lifetime I'm not going to get anywhere, so why should I bother at all? Okay, if they want to argue like this and live their life, that the attention goes again more away from the essence, then I guess that's what they need. If we want to be free of that, we just simply have to go about it with perseverance. And we will get encouragement. If we do that, there will be moments where simply there everything seems to be totally all right, where there is peace, where there is a natural joyousness. Without our having done anything about it, suddenly it's there. We may be sitting quietly in meditation, but we may also be in a crowd and busy, and suddenly it's there. And then the mind takes over again, the mechanism starts again, that experience passes, but the inspiration is still there. There's no need of regretting that it has passed, that has passed. So what, but that moment of grace is precious. And if we look at it in that way, then we can draw inspiration just from the memory of having had these moments, having had these periods, to encourage us to go ahead, because we know deeper that's worth the trouble. All that happiness, all that sense of fulfillment we are looking for in sense gratifications, in arranging the circumstances. If we were really look good at it, then we see everybody can see it. It can never do the job. It can make the life a bit more comfortable. It can give us momentary sense of satisfaction, and yet deep down that nagging is still there, that call from the self, come home, come home. If you really want to be in your natural state and that is your birthright, then just bring the attention back, persist, go on and on. And if one persists like this, those moments I just described will happen more and give more inspiration. And if we keep on persisting and not think that finally it is already quite a good state, then eventually the attention may be sucked in so deeply into that essential existence that you simply don't lose it anymore. That's what you are here for. So let's make use of the chance that is there. In spite of there being so many influences that try to prevent it, there are so many influences very active that try to cut off the people's attention, the people's immediate experience from a contact, from direct, immediate contact with the essence. But nevertheless, if we persevere, we can also pierce through that layer, that cover, that tries to prevent us from getting more expansive. Everybody can do that if they want to. It is not basically difficult to do, but it has to be done with perseverance, on and on and on. If we have that clear, then the road is clear. There may be difficult times, there may be difficult parts, there may be great obstacles sometimes. We look at them, we deal with them, and we let them go again and are back here. right now, timelessly here in that one only point, in that one only space where we are touching reality, where we are touching life as it is. It's worth the trouble. Nothing else can in any way compare with that. Ario, now I stop just talking away by myself. Just watched the clock and I'm aware that I have been talking longer than I intended. All right, my friends. So I'm asking you, is there anyone who would like to come in and say something? You are welcome to do so.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Lila.
I had so many questions while you were talking, but I'll now relate to the end of your talk about reality, about what's real. So in Israel, we have this expression, I'm sure not only in Israel, but when we're so lost in the events, we say hilarious reality. Yeah, hilarious, you say. Is that, do you understand what I mean?
Well, I understand the word, yes. So I guess
Yeah.
if that is the
So,
translation, I understand.
yeah. Hilarious reality, that we use it a lot now in Israel. We keep walking around, we say it's hilarious all the time because we can't somehow understand and we don't know what to do. I mean, now I can talk about myself, of course, but everybody uses. I try not to use it, but sometimes I just don't know what else to, how to relate to what is happening. Yeah. Specifically, let's say this week, what happened the night between Saturday and Sunday from Iran. And okay, so now if I connect it and then I get to my question, to what you said, is that this kind of experience that I go through now is not knowing, a lot of not knowing what to do, not knowing what to answer, not knowing what is going to happen. So of course the best is to connect, which I am rather connected also as a gift that I'm getting from
somewhere.
Yeah. But when life is managed often through questions and answers, problem and solution, like there is like this kind of way of living, and now it's not like that. There are no solutions, there are no answers. So I'm getting used to live also. I feel when I'm connected, I feel that I'm quiet. I feel that I'm not asking because I will not get an answer.
Yeah.
So it's from minute to minute, it's from second to second, go on. Do I need answers?
You don't
Is
need
there
answers.
anything?
You don't need answers. You can very well be totally quite at peace in that state of not knowing. But what you also can do in order to bring a positive aspect of it, that you learn to let that peaceful sense of presence that you are always having access to, if you want, that is there no matter what is happening, that you learn to let that express itself, that it radiates, that you can put intent for harmony, that the situation is improving out into space without standing there and it must manifest now, it must manifest now. Just that inner harmony, that inner peace, that inner beauty, that you can send it into the current of events, and then you are contributing, even if you don't know what is going to happen, what is, how long it's going on, how much destruction there has to be there until people wake up to something more. But if you do so, then you are contributing that even on this level, it can quieten down and become more peaceful.
Okay, so now I have a specific question. I remember I told you about the friend who said it's better to give up on the kidnapped people and to go into a war and get over with all this. And then we met occasionally, and she wants to remain friends, and she wrote me a very strange message, and I can't go back. And I'm used to answer people. Yeah, and I just don't want to hurt. I think I could feel that she's extremely hurt through what she wrote. Extremely hurt.
Yes.
Down to her ego, because I mean, friends sometimes separate also for, yeah, we don't stay friends forever often.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to answer, but I don't want to answer, and part of me says, but you can't answer because you don't know what to answer.
Yeah.
And you don't want to hurt her more.
Yeah.
And this is very painful for me. Yesterday I had to call my ex-husband to share because I was so painful, so painful.
Yeah. Right. Whether you want to keep that contact or not, you can decide as you want. If you feel, sometimes it's you feel that somebody is so totally absorbed in their projections, in their story, that nothing goes through, and then if you decide, then you can also take more distance. You can also just reduce the contact and not go too much into the kind of talk that you know it's hopeless, that you're coming from totally a different space. But then she may get some comfort of just making contact. Even if you talk about irrelevant things, just that there is for a moment a feeling of being connected. But that you have to feel for yourself, whether in that way something positive, something creative can happen, or whether it's just too, for the time being, too hopeless, and rather that contact would create more tensions.
Yeah, it's a waste of energy for me anyway.
Yeah.
I feel it in regards to your advice about radiating. I should waste my energy. I should really be very clear about where and what and how I want to spend the energy, how to connect to the energy and how to go through and it's very clear for me now.
If you feel there is no benefit for anyone in it, then you have very well the right to keep more of a distance. It may change.
That's how I feel.
It may change again, but if you for the time being feel like this, why not? I have contacts which were active before, and right now they have a bit dried up because it was clear we are talking another language, and so nobody is benefited by it.
Yeah, okay.
But I have other contacts where when we communicate, we may be quite talking about unimportant stuff, and still there is benefit in it, just connecting. But if you feel there is too much of a tension building up in that connection, then there is no point in it.
No, I can keep connections like you described. I have friends here in the village where I live, and which are like easy and going and not deep stuff and really full of love. But this one is different. Yeah. I'm very radical, so I really have to watch it, so I don't get involved with most people with my way of living and not opinions, but really I'm a bit different. So I really don't go in there. I just like keep relationships on an easy level. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hariom.
Touched my heart.
Hariom.
Hariom.
Is there anyone else who would like to say something?
Hi, Werner.
Hello, Nava.
Hi. I would like to ask something, well, also something you said when you were talking. I see lately that I am very, how can I put it? I try so hard in my practice, during the day, to get it right.
Yeah.
And it seems that I've been trying too hard.
Yeah.
The thing is, when I just let go and relax, whether it's meditation or during the day, it's so easy to get lost in my thoughts.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm not finding that middle way, really.
You will find, because you can continue being watchful, being alert, and when you become aware how the thoughts want to go very enthusiastically after something, that there you can see it, and that you can redirect the attention without the thing of trying to get somewhere, more in a relaxed way, in a playful way. But yes, it is a bit the tendency when we have always made efforts in order to get somewhere, and then you relax, that somehow something it feels a bit lost and fills it up with dreams and stories that want to come. Right. And then when you see that, then you say, okay, I'm also not going for those. I'm not getting interested in that, but simply bring the attention back without having to try to be successful. Simply reconnect and relax in that, and reconnect and relax in that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do. Yeah.
No, it's not hard. It's unusual, and then for the mind,
Yes.
it looks like it's very difficult. That either it's with effort, with control, or then one goes off. And
Yeah.
there, go about it persistently. That you remind yourself when you try to try less to achieve something, but be more relaxed than to be at the same time watchful. And when you become aware without a big fuss, at that moment you just simply reconnect and relax.
I will certainly try. One thing that I've been trying to do when I'm meditating and I get lost in my thoughts, and as I've observed, I see every time I see that I'm lost in my thoughts, I feel bad. Oh, I just messed up again.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been trying to do lately is say, oh, good. I caught myself back to being aware. And that is helping a little bit. It's
Right.
not helping with relaxation, but it's helping with my attitude towards the thoughts.
Yes. There's no point in standing in judgment over you. I messed up again and again, I lost it. So what? Okay, it's already past when you become aware, and it's already irrelevant. And so that's very good that you keep then a positive mood at that moment. There, got you again. Connect and relax.
Okay, I'll keep I'll keep at it. I'll see what happens.
Yes, because that's not how we have been brought up. We have been brought up that thinking that we have to struggle and make tremendous effort if we want to achieve something that is worthwhile. To do so in a gentle, in a playful way is somehow not in the society's vocabulary.
No, everything has to be hard.
Everything has to be hard. And so it's unnatural. And we just have to become natural again. But then for the mind, it seems to be hard because it's so different from the modus operandi, what is there, so ingrained. But if you are not then starting to be judgmental about yourself about that, but just be happy every time you catch yourself and connect and relax, then you learn to change the mood about the whole thing. And gradually you become aware. Actually, in that way, you start to become much more successful than when you desperately try too hard to control or get somewhere.
I think one thing that's happened with me is because I started on this path at such a late age, I felt like I really had to do a lot, and I have done a lot in just all sorts of things in a short space of time.
Yeah.
And I think it really pushed me along. But I think I'm at the point where I have to just start letting go. And
right.
Yeah.
Like to quote again Nisargadatta, I remember having read in a conversation of somebody obviously not very young, telling him, but how can I have a chance? I'm already old. So is it at all possible that there is a chance for me? And Nisargadatta said, in a way, you are in a good position, because the young people, they all think they can do a lot of sadhana and can do a lot about it, and you somehow know it's too late to start all that heavy shoveling, that heavy work. So all you have to do is to full-heartedly let go, surrender, and be. And because you know that he said that to that person, you know that in that sense, it's too late. It's too late to start years of intense sadhana that it's simply not on the program. But because you know that, then you just let go.
Wow. Wow, that's quite something, because that's exactly how it's felt. That I can't do years and years and years of what I hear people have done. I don't have the time for that, but that's, I should look that, is that in his book? I am that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm working my way through that. I would love to read that.
I guess you will somehow stumble on it one day.
Yeah, that's nice, because I've never heard anybody address this, that what happens when you really late in life. Yeah.
Yeah. There are people, I know that there are teachers who discourage in a way the elderly people and say, well, don't worry, it's too late. It's not. It's never too late. You are that here and now, and we just have to let go, not hold on to all those layers that prevent us from being aware what naturally is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for that, sadhana is very helpful because we become more aware. But it's not with our sadhana that we are going to achieve really something. The sadhana is just giving the insight. It helps us to become clearer, more aware. But then just to remind ourselves to let go of all the stuff that I have in mind, the stuff that I'm carrying along in itself is an intense sadhana without grinding your teeth.
Yeah, I used to think it was too late. I don't anymore.
No, that's good.
That
Great.
change, really.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Thank you.
Very nice. Hari Om. Hari Om. Actually, I've read those books of Nisargadatta a long time ago, 40 years ago. But I think I remember that Maharaj said to that person, anyhow, you have come here, then just, since you are not in a position to go for heavy sadhanas, just have faith in what I'm talking you and let go. Telling that person that they are not what they think they are, that they are, I don't remember the words he used, but that they are basically divine, and giving an option to that person, okay, this is a fact here now. And since you are not in a position to start big sadhanas, then just have faith in what I'm telling you and relax, let go. Wherever we are, whatever the circumstances, we always can, in one way or another, connect. And even if we have not consciously done that before, there we can start. And the number of years that have passed in one's life, they are not relevant for that. What you are is timeless. That which makes the experience possible is timeless. It's here, now, it's never absent. And whatever the past has been, here, now, it's possible to consciously open up to that, to consciously connect at least to some degree. And then if we do that and do that again and persist in doing that and learn to relax in it instead of being all tense about it, then things will start to smooth out. And it gets easier and easier. All right. Is there somebody else who would like to come in and say something? You are welcome to do so. Hello, Iloda.
Hello.
Hello, Ritis.
Hello. Something came up this morning, and it affected us both deeply. And yeah, our longtime friend and teacher left this dimension this morning. And it was very unexpected. Of course, he was already about 80. He was not connected with the Tiruvannamalai, and so I don't know if you know him. He's more like Osho, very long. Yeah. So we met him in London. He was doing satsang. Then he moved to Glastonbury, and we used to visit him in Glastonbury. We would go summer, almost every summer to Glastonbury, and he would invite us to our home. Come for supper, like 6 p.m. sharp. And I will cook something. Yeah. And it was very, very beautiful connection. And we saw him last time. He was quite vibrant. Yeah. And it was just unexpected. So it brought some thoughts like we approaching the time when I'm almost 60 now, so many people start to leave this and it will happen more often. It will happen more and more often. And I'm not sure I'm ready to face that. That's one thing. And another thing what came up is that it's such a short period of time we have left, actually. For me, for example, I'm 60 and I'm with the chronic disease, so probably 10 years. So I don't have time for suffering, for achieving something, and for waiting to wake up. Who cares? Wake up. I'm awake or I'm not awake. I have so little time here. I have to enjoy the rest of this time. Yeah, probably question is your thoughts about our situation, and what is Netisinga? Could Netisinga?
Justice.
And just situation for human form in this life, in this lifetime or something. I don't know. I'm a little bit true, but yeah, it's quite strong experience. I just felt so much in my heart when I found out about this, and yeah.
Right. Of course, if something happens unexpectedly like this, it can shake you up a bit. And then this thought comes, hey, because there the reminder is again, all this can finish in one moment. Duck, finished. And then you wonder, well, whether awakened, not awakened, so there is maybe not much time, so better spend the time enjoying yourself. But there is not a contradiction with being sincere in connecting and enjoying your time that is left. Actually, the more you learn to be in the present, the more you can learn to relax in that beingness, the more joyous your time is. It's not that you have to run now after many things in the world, thinking I have to experience so many things and enjoy myself in order to make my life worthwhile. By all means, enjoy being here now, alive. But for that, you don't need to do much. If you feel like doing things, do that, but still do that consciously. Enjoying your time and being conscious and reminding yourself to connect with the essence are not two contradictions, that it's either one or the other. And you wonder whether you would be ready. Well, actually, it's happening all the time. We simply don't notice. But every moment that is there, it passes away and it's not more there. And it's like a little death. It's like that we are, without being aware, dying all the time and being born for the new moment. And so, if you start to look at your life experience like this, then you can learn to die consciously every moment. And the more you are capable of dying consciously every moment, the more you are finally really alive. Because then you are always new and fresh in the new situation. And if you look at life like this, then the idea that one day comes that this human story is over and then this body will drop off suddenly doesn't look at such a big thing. It's just like what is happening in a small measure every moment now. That one moment is there and then it disappears. Then a moment is there and it disappears. And getting out of this human story is just more of the same, just a bit more drastic, because then the human story is finished. But still, it's happening all the time. If you bring the attention to that, become aware, then somehow it's like the burden that we are unnecessarily carrying by trying to hold things together start to drop off, and you are alive in the present, aware that on the relative level, there is always that, every moment. You're dying all the time, and yet it cannot affect you. You are alive, you're giving life to your experience, you're giving life to your story, you are the source of the life. You cannot possibly die. But all the manifestations and the expressions, they changing all the time. And in a way, they dying, whatever is there dies, it's gone, and the new situation is there. We have been brought up, especially in the West, not to think about that. somehow to just push it away as if it was not there. Everybody knows there, it's always somewhere nagging. One day the story is over. But we have learned to just put it aside and not think about it. Well, actually, it would have been much wiser to be very much aware. That's part of of life, that there is change all the time, and every change is a little death, and that there is nothing terrible about dying. There is nothing terrible about that. There is nothing to be afraid of. It's just the natural way how your inner beauty is expressing itself. There is always the creation, it's there a moment it disappears. Then it doesn't matter whether you live 1 year or 30 years. You live fresh and intensely here now. And of course, if you have a strong connection like what you described, and then suddenly you hear, oh, this being is not more there available on that level, naturally there comes sadness. There's nothing wrong feeling sad about it. But let the sadness not pull you in a panic or in self-pity, but just accept, okay, there is the experience of sadness for some time. And if you don't resist sadness, then sadness is not a bad experience. It can bring you very deep in yourself, and in that sadness can at the same time be the awareness of a fulfillment because you are connected with yourself. That which you liked, the essence of the teacher that has created a strong connection energetically with you, that essence is still there. It doesn't go from somewhere to somewhere else. It is timeless, spaceless. And your connection with the teacher has made you somehow aware of something in yourself. When we like somebody strongly, when we build up an energetic connection, then it's because that other person is making us aware of something in ourselves. And that which it's a he or she. Which he has resonated in your heart, that is still with you. What you liked in him is what you liked in yourself. And that doesn't go. And his essence doesn't go. Okay, the story has changed. Can't have dinner with him. But you still have the memory of those dinners. And you still can connect with what he has represented for you. And then whether somebody is around or is not around doesn't make that much of a difference. How many people are coming here and they connecting with Ramana Maharshi, who has left his body 74 years ago or something like that? And still the connection can be made. So let the sadness, don't fight the sadness, let the sadness come, let the sadness be there, experience the sadness, and then if you are not resisting, sadness in itself becomes an expansive experience and can become very beautiful. Then the sadness will pass, but still you can keep the memory and that awareness of that aspect that this teacher has manifested for you, has meant for you, and become aware it's here, it's in myself. The teacher has simply somehow pointed at myself. That's why I felt connected. And that doesn't go. That doesn't die. Even if the story ends in this form, eventually that which you are, that which count, is timeless, spaceless, has been there before this human form, is here now, is there when this human form is gone. Don't think you have now to push yourself to do many things, because who knows how many years are there left. It doesn't matter at the end how many things we did or did not do, but whether we were living the time we spent here conscious and connected or not, that makes a difference. Is there something you would like to add?
Tres lause.
Read this once.
Tres lause.
I mean, probably not. I liked a lot of when you said about this dying of every moment, and then the itself doesn't look so terrible. That resonated with me. Yes. Just one thing, yeah, about this doing, not doing, and spending. Like we study Advaita Vedanta with James Park. You know him. So in Vedanta, it's kind of like everything is predisposed, and you cannot choose a lot. Everything is given from Ishvara. And you can choose something, but the result is anyway, it's not in your hands, and it's like this. And then, for example, Ramji, like James Schwartz himself, he used to say, I was sitting at Usha's for years and basically was wasting my time. It basically wasted my time. I was sitting there for many years, like things like that. So even he thinks that he could have done something different. It is like contradiction for me. It's so like I don't know. It's like, so can we choose or we better, yeah, just I don't know.
Yes, it's a delicate subject, and actually, I tell you, you will never get an answer that really clarifies the situation. You have the capacity to choose, and yet you have not. You have free will, and yet you have not. Everything is happening according to God's will in that creation. Nothing can be outside of God's will, but part of God's will is also that the consciousness manifest has its own creativity. That basically the consciousness is being put into this matrix and has its own possibilities, and whether one is really going into it and unfolding those possibilities or not, one can contribute to it. It's true, how successful you are all the time may not lie in your hands, because where your input in a situation is one aspect, but that the situation as it is right now can exist. There is influences like from different dimensions, from different directions, that merge, that converge at this moment here now and produce this situation. And our intent that we consciously can bring our creativity, our effort, our contribution is one aspect amongst many aspects. Many times, if we bring a positive intent, a positive action in a moment, it may be enough to tip the scale and it may change the situation dramatically. But many times we may do the same thing and it will not change anything because too many other influences are neutralizing that. So you have the possibility to creatively contribute. And the tendency is the more we are using that possibility consciously, the more you live really in the present. It's like the line where we can influence is getting a bit longer.
Wow, that's the most complex and wise answer about on the subject I ever heard. Really? Really, usually it's very plain, you know. Yeah.
Either you have or you have not. And
yeah.
these are the two extremes. Then some say you have absolutely no free will, you have absolutely no possibility to contribute, and the other says you are totally free every moment to choose as you like. And both are not totally wrong. But both are not totally right either. It's not that you can put it in a box like this. Anyone who says it's like this and insist that is the truth, you have a right to doubt. Because it's a magic that is happening all the time. A creative, organic thing that is happening. But consciousness, by God's will, has its own creativity. And we can learn to be more self-conscious. And the more you are conscious in the present, the more you have access to that creativity, to that pool of power and creativity, and can learn to express it easier into the manifestation. Still, other influences are there. And if God's will is in a certain situation that it has to turn like this, then it will turn like this. But God often leaves it open whether it's turning left or right, because the essence remains the same. What matters is that we learn in course of the process to be connected with our essence and learn to express it. And there, the more we are doing it, the more these expressions become powerful. That's what I meant, that the longer gets the line where you really can influence and choose something.
Okay, and when we learning, so do we use a mind for learning? Because otherwise, if we notice something or we aware of it, we put attention just to notice something that is that what I am. But if we learn, so we need to train this organism, either mind or body.
Right.
And when you say when we're learning, so does it mean that we should train the mind and the body?
Yes. The mind has become like in all this Advaitic teaching always, oh, the mind, it's all the mind, like it's the devil. Don't have anything to do with the mind. There is not really such a thing like a mind, but we do have that capacity in the human form. We do have that capacity to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts. And that is something beautiful. It's not that we should somehow stamp that out. It's a tool to express, and it's a tool to learn. It is needed to learn. You have to somehow bring that mental activity in to learn something. The body can learn a lot of things, but still the mind is also needed. This capacity to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts is a beautiful tool we have. Unfortunately, instead of using it as a tool when it's necessary and put it aside when it's not necessary, somehow something has gone wrong, that that tool has become stronger and stronger and the boss, and then we ending up of thinking compulsory all the time, and that is not natural, the natural state. But that capacity to think, to express thoughts, to express something beautifully, and also that capacity to learn. And for that, thoughts are also needed. That is beautiful. There's absolutely nothing wrong. It's just, it has gotten out of its place. It should be there as a tool to be used where it's necessary, and then we put it aside, and then you just are and need not think about it. But then somehow it has become stronger and stronger, and it goes on ramba, 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 uncontrollable. But the mind as such is not something bad. Ramana Maharshi was always telling people to do practice to make the mind strong. And some people, some Advaitins are a bit, what to make the mind strong? We have to get rid of the mind. No. A strong mind means that not that we are thinking all the time. A strong mind means that you are conscious and not need and think little and need not to think all the time.
So it means that we train the attention to stay conscious and to notice the present,
Yes.
but
Right.
not to follow the thoughts and not to get involved into this cycle of the thoughts.
Right. And for that, the mind is needed. We catch the attention on the level that is usually hooked up on that mental level and give the impulse to redirect the attention back to the source, which is still a mental activity. But then we relax and just come home.
So when we relax and go home, anyway, the experience comes through the mind. If we feel the bliss or we feel other emotions, and in relaxation and presence, we feel something. So anyway, the tool, the mind itself is needed.
No,
Consciousness, no?
no, the tool will be needed when you want to explain it, when you want to explain it for yourself, but
Okay.
you simply are. And you experience that intensity. And as long as I don't want to start to understand it or start to think, how can I explain it to somebody else? Then
This experience of the intensity, anyway, it is experience. It's like some similarities, like we experience joy emotion or sadness emotion, like with this passing of the friend. It's also the experience of something. And usually those experience of emotions is attributed to the property of the mind. Is
yes,
it possible otherwise other experiences without this?
right. The mind is not necessary, but consciousness is necessary. But consciousness is there whether the mind is there or not. And if there are no thoughts, there is no mind. The mind is only there when thoughts are there. And when there are no thoughts, there is no mind.
Okay.
But the mind will bring about, like you heard now that your friend has died. And that was mental information, and it creates mental activity, which along with it comes sadness. But then if you let go of the mental activity, the experience of sadness may still be there, but it changes totally its its flavor. That instead of something terrible to feel sad, something suddenly feeling consciously sad, then without the whole thought process, then the experience can become very expensive, and the mind is not needed for that.
Okay. And one more. When, for example, I do some movement, if I want to drink the water, I extend the hand and take the glass and drink. And for that movement, I do not need the conscious thoughts.
No.
This thirst felt and then automatically extends hand and drinks the water. So in this case, it should be no active thoughts and should be no mind. But who initiates the willful movement to grab the glass of water?
You, the being that you are. But this is not the person, it's not the mind, it's that which makes the whole experience possible. It's that which makes the baby take the first breath. that all the life process can manifest. And if we learn something, a new movement, if we learn a dance, if we learn Tai Chi, then the mind is needed to learn to understand the movement, and we do it. And eventually the mind is not more needed because it comes by itself, and it becomes much more an expression of you. That being that you are, that divine being is initiating that. The divine being thinks it's still, it doesn't think, knows. It's good that this body keeps going for some time, and for that it's good to drink water. And this happens then spontaneously.
But it looks like you need to take an action to drink water, and that you are authorizing that movement.
Yes.
Is it happening afterwards, or because it's, well, from that comes that you should always be in the control of some movements or something?
Actually, the thing is simply when I think that I as a person want to do this and want to do that, then we try to learn control. But if your attention goes back a step further, then that question of control or not control is suddenly not more so relevant. It's more that spontaneously, playfully things are happening. And things are happening and you doing them become the same. Like there is the discussion, you are the doer, you are not the doer. And don't be the doer because when you are the doer, you're disturbing. But both, that you are the doer and that you are not the doer, both are concepts. And the second concept can be used for some time to neutralize the power of the first concept. But then the doing things and things just happening somehow merge. That's not something that the mind can grasp, but this is the best I can say about it. Then you need not consciously do something and control it. It's happening, it's just happening, and yet you can still direct the show.
So it's a kind of paradox.
As if you want to go deeper in the explanations of what's going on, invariably it starts to become paradoxical. Because that mind stuff, clear cut, no, yes, no, like this, like that, somehow suddenly starts not to apply anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, shall we leave
Okay,
it at
thank
that?
you. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Okay, my friends, let's stop the satsang with that for today. what I just said to Rit is, it's not that finally we know everything, we understand everything. The understanding helps to put the attention in the right direction. But then it's becoming being. And it can all, when we getting closer to the essence, cannot more be understood like we understood 2 and 2 is 4. And all the concepts that help us on the way to guide us and to put the pointer in the right direction, back home to the center. There comes to a point where those concepts are being seen irrelevant. Although they may have been helpful before, they become irrelevant. And then being active, being not active, doing things or letting things just happen, it all merges. That's what certain spiritual arts try to get at in their practice with, like the archery of the Zen Buddhists. They learn to shoot, they learn to be more and more relaxed, and they aim at coming at that state, that doing it, and it's just happening by itself, that the two are merging. And the more you are conscious, the more you are here and now, then this is happening more and more with all the simple, practical things on this relative level in our daily life. You are not a doer, and you are not a doer. All right, let it hang in the air like that for today. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.